Welcome back to TPS. Throughout the history of professional sports, there have been instances where a team had to make a last-minute position change. Next thing they know, they're forced to sign an amateur player off the streets to fill out their roster, or they simply have to ask one of their current players to play a position that's completely foreign to them. Here are the 10 greatest emergency position change moments in sports. At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video. And a huge shout out to Andrew Grove for suggesting this video idea. We changed the list to include all sports, but thank you, Andrew, for inspiring it. Number 10, John Terry, Chelsea FC goalkeeper. Legendary John Terry only added to his greatness on October 14, 2006. Chelsea visited Reading for what should have been a routine win in the early stages of the 2006-07 season. But this turned out to be anything but your casual Chelsea victory over an underdog. Less than 20 seconds into the game, Chelsea star goalkeeper Peter Cech suffered a head injury after colliding with Stephen Hunt of Reading. Cech was attended to and had to be stretchered off, forcing Chelsea to put backup Carlo Cudicini in the game. Chelsea was clinging to a 1-0 lead in extra time when Carlo suffered an injury following a scary collision. He too had to be stretchered off, and with both goalkeepers now sidelined, Chelsea was forced to turn to Terry to finish the game in goal. Not that he had to hold the fort for long, but Terry did his job and helped Chelsea hold on for the 1-0 shutout victory. Now, this is pretty unheard of at the professional soccer level. Even if Terry didn't have to play goalkeeper for long, it's still worthy of a shout-out. Number 9, Chris Davis, Orioles pitcher. A year before his monster 2013 season, when he hit 53 home runs and recorded 138 RBI, Baltimore Orioles first baseman Chris Davis made a name for himself as an unlikely hero for a May 2012 game at Fenway Park. The Orioles were finishing up their 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox on May 6th, looking to complete the sweep. Manager Buck Showalter had to yank struggling starter Tommy Hunt after just 4 1/3 innings, having allowed 5 earned runs. Showalter quickly burned through his bullpen. He wound up using 8 total pitchers, and 4 of Baltimore's relievers pitched 2 total innings. The game was tied 6 apiece after 15 innings, and Showalter was out of options. Desperate to find another arm, he turned to Davis, who went hitless in 8 at-bats. The latter was a pitcher in high school, so Showalter had to simply hope for the best, and that's what he got. Davis pitched a shutout in the 16th inning, sending the game to another extra frame. The Orioles put up 3 runs in the top half of the 17th inning, and Davis shut down the Red Sox bats in the 17th to clinch a 9-6 victory. Final stat line, 2 innings, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 hits allowed, and a pair of strikeouts. Not bad for an emergency pitcher. Number 8, Ross Lefty Wilson, Red Wings, Maple Leafs, and Bruins goalie. In the olden days, NHL teams only dressed one goalie, but teams usually had a non-professional emergency goalie just in case nearby. Longtime Detroit Red Wings trainer Ross Lefty Wilson, who played in the USHL and AHL, had a few stints as an emergency backup, as he was called into action on 3 separate occasions. His NHL debut came on October 10, 1953, in a road game against the powerhouse Montreal Canadiens. Red Wings star goalie Terry Sawchuk had to leave the game due to an injury, and Wilson relieved him to close out the contest. Detroit lost 4-1, but Wilson didn't allow a single goal. Admirable. 3 years later, the Maple Leafs brought him in to replace Harry Lumley during a January 22, 1956 road loss to the Red Wings, Wilson's former team. But again, Wilson didn't yield a single goal in the contest. Lastly, Wilson came on an emergency for the Boston Bruins in their December 29, 1957 road tilt against Detroit. Starter Don Simmons had to leave with a shoulder injury, and Wilson allowed just the 1 goal in a 2-2 tie. All in all, Wilson allowed just 1 goal in 3 emergency relief appearances. That's pretty remarkable if you ask us. Number 7, Sean Kilpatrick, Timberwolves guard. Timberwolves were short on bodies for their March 19, 2015 road game against the New York Knicks. 8 players were injured, and the team simply had to find a D-League player who could get to the game ASAP. Enter Sean Kilpatrick. The undrafted product signed a 10-day contract with Minnesota on the day of the game. The league granted them a hardship exemption since they had a plethora of injuries on the roster, thus allowing Kilpatrick to play in that night's contest. Kilpatrick drove from Delaware and arrived at Madison Square Garden less than an hour before tip-off. Despite having only 8 players available, the T-Wolves managed to escape with a tight 95-92 victory. Kilpatrick played 10 minutes, posting 1 rebound and a +5 rating. He would play 3 more games for the Timberwolves that season. He earned it. Number 6, Scott Foster, Blackhawks goalie. With starting goalie Corey Crawford done for the season, the Chicago Blackhawks relied on the Anton Forsberg-Colin Delia tandem for their March 29, 2018 home game against the Winnipeg Jets. Chicago planned to start Forsberg that night, but he was forced to leave after suffering an injury in warm-ups. Delia held down the fort for 45 minutes and 59 seconds, allowing just 2 goals on 27 shots faced. But Colin was removed from the game due to a cramping problem that forced the Blackhawks to bring in accountant and emergency beer league goalie Scott Foster, who the team had just signed to an amateur contract. The 36-year-old Foster turned aside all 7 shots he faced to help Chicago hold on for a 6-2 victory. He was rightfully named the game's first star, having made the most of his 14 minutes of fame. Number 5, Tom TUPA, Jets quarterback. The New York Jets hosted the New England Patriots in Week 1 of the 1999 campaign, and it turned out to be a pretty spectacular and rather unforgettable season opener for both teams. The Jets lost starting quarterback Vinny Testaverde for the season when he suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon midway through the second quarter. Head coach Bill Parcells decided to turn to punter Tom TUPA as the emergency quarterback. TUPA played quarterback at Ohio State and previously served as a backup for the Phoenix Cardinals, starting 13 games between the 1989 and 91 seasons. While the Pro Bowl punter showed flashes at quarterback for the Jets. He completed 6 passes for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns, but Parcells eventually decided to pull him in favor of second stringer Rick Meyer. The Jets lost a close contest 30-28, but thanks to TUPA's heroics, New York fans somehow got their money's worth. TUPA kept it close and nearly helped his team get the big-time upset without their starter. The man deserves some credit. Number 4, Phillies Vince Velasquez to the outfield, Roman Quinn to the mound. The Philadelphia Phillies used up all their pitchers in their August 2, 2019 home game against the Chicago White Sox. That left manager Gabe Kepler no choice but to insert outfielder Roman Quinn on the mound. That was only half the story. Pitcher Vince Velasquez couldn't be used because he had pitched 2 days earlier, during 5 innings against the San Francisco Giants. With Quinn relocating from the outfield to the mound, Kepler decided to move Velasquez into left field, and it semi-paid off. In the top of the 14th inning, Velasquez fielded a James McCann single and threw Jose Abreu out at home for the incredible outfield assist. Then in the top of the 15th, he made a slick diving grab-off to Elroy Jemison to retire the side. The Phillies wound up losing 4-3 in 15 innings, but who cares? That was an incredible outing by Velasquez, and Quinn wasn't half bad himself, allowing just 1 run in 2 innings pitched. Number 3, Tom Matt, Colts quarterback. Matt was a 2-time Pro Bowl running back for the Baltimore Colts, powerhouse team coached by the legendary Don Shula. Despite Matt's contributions to their 1968 NFL Championship and Super Bowl V title, he is perhaps best known as the guy who filled in as an emergency quarterback in 1965. In those days, NFL teams usually only carried 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately for the Colts, franchise star Johnny Unitas was lost for the season after suffering a knee injury. 1 week later, backup Gary Kuzo suffered a season-ending shoulder injury against the Green Bay Packers. Shula got creative and placed Matt behind center. Thanks to his abilities as a running back, Matt was able to maneuver around the pocket to make some plays. He led the Colts to a 2017 win against the Los Angeles Rams in the regular season finale, sending them to the playoffs against Green Bay. The Magic ran out with a 13-10 loss to Vince Lombardi's Packers, but Matt, who carved out a pretty special career as a running back, put himself into the history books as the Colts hero in 1965, just when all hope looked lost following the season-ending injuries to 2 of their top quarterbacks. Number 2, Kendall Hinton, Broncos quarterback. Ahead of the Denver Broncos Week 12 2020 home game against the New Orleans Saints, backup quarterback Jeff Driscoll tested positive for COVID-19. The team's other 3 quarterbacks, starter Drew Lock and backups Blake Bortles and Brett Rippon, were reported to have been in close contact with Driscoll, so by league rules, they were all ineligible to play. The NFL refused to reschedule the game, having been forced to make several adjustments to the regular season schedule already due to multiple team outbreaks. So that left the Broncos without a quarterback for their game against the Saints. They couldn't sign nor trade anybody else. Their only option was to promote undrafted rookie wide receiver Kendall Hinton from the practice squad to play quarterback. Hinton briefly played QB during his time at Wake Forest, tossing 133 completions for 1,504 yards and 8 touchdowns. So the desperate Broncos gave Hinton the starting nod for Week 12, though they mainly focused on trying to run the ball. Hinton only completed 1 of 9 pass attempts for 13 yards and 2 interceptions. He He was sacked once. The Broncos finished with 100 rushing yards on 33 carries, but they were no match for Sean Payton's team. New Orleans racked up 229 rushing yards and needed only 78 passing yards from starter Taysom Hill as the visitors cruised to an easy 31-3 victory. Hinton received some well-deserved praise for stepping in amid a difficult situation. Regardless of the score, the man did all he could for a desperate Broncos team, who will forever be enshrined in NFL history. Number 1, David Ayres, Hurricane goalie. The Carolina Hurricanes visited the Toronto Maple Leafs in a regular season game on February 22, 2020. Nobody in the arena could have guessed at the time, but history was about to be made that night. Carolina star James Reimer suffered an injury 3 minutes into the game after a collision with teammate Jacob Slavin. Later on, with just under 9 minutes remaining in the second period, Hurricanes backup starter Peter Mazurek got injured after colliding with Toronto forward Kyle Clifford as the two chased after a loose puck. With both goalies out, Carolina had no choice but to turn to 42-year-old emergency goalie David Ayres, who was a Zamboni driver and maintenance worker for the Toronto Marlies, the Maple Leafs AHL affiliate. The Leafs had even used Ayres in their practices on occasion, which made things even more interesting. Ayres allowed 2 quick goals in the second period, but he shut the door in the third period and stopped 8 of 10 total shots to help Carolina win 6-3. Ayres was named the game's first star, and the Toronto crowd kindly applauded him after the contest, even though he had just handed their team an embarrassing L. Just your casual February road win with a 42-year-old emergency goalie who had never played in the NHL before. What other emergency position changes should we have included on our list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.